tool.
Welcome to the Church Communications Podcast. Today, our episode is sponsored by Pixel Faith. For 17 years, Pixel Faith has been serving churches of all sizes all over the world with broadcast, grade streaming, and 24/7 live person support. We are very familiar with the work that they do. They've been our streaming provider when I worked at Brentwood for the last 10 years. You can contact Pixel Faith today for a free digital media consultation and more information by going to pixelfaith.com/podcast. Again, that is Pixel with a K, so PIKSEL faith.com/podcast, and you can get this sweet deal. So today I'm really excited because we have my lovely friend Holly with us. Hi, Holly.
Hello.
And Holly is the Vice President of Marketing over at Vanderbloemen Search Group. You may have heard of Vanderbloemen before because they do a lot of church job searching and finding. I don't even know what you really call that.
Searching and finding sums it up.
Searching and finding. They help people. They help churches find people.
Yep.
So, So Holly, why don't you tell the lovely people about yourself?
Well, Katie, you and I have something in common. Well, we have a lot in common.
Like we're best friends.
Yeah, we're best, and that we both love marketing and communications and the church. But we've both lived in Nashville, Tennessee for a long time. So
yeah, I
was born and raised in Nashville. So shout out to like this if you are from Nashville. Shout out to Nashville.
Yeah, tell us you're here.
Yeah. Total rabbit trail, but did you see the post in the Church Communications Facebook group yesterday about if you live in Houston?
Oh, yeah, I did see that.
So I currently live in Houston, from Nashville, but live in Houston. It was amazing. There were like 50-something comments. And somebody, Jeremy Schrader on there, shout out to Jeremy, was like, we should do a meetup. And I thought that was a great idea. But yeah, that was a rabbit trail. So I'm from Nashville, went to college in New York, studied business, and right after college, got my first big girl job in Dallas.
College where?
In New York City.
I don't think I even knew that about you.
Yeah. So it's a little
school. Much cooler right there. I don't even know.
The King's College. It's a little nerdy, awesome school. It was
okay.
Yeah. When I was there, actually, I went to college in the Empire State Building, which is pretty crazy.
What?
Mm-hmm. It was in the basement.
Who are you?
It was in the basement, but it was still a neat thing. But anyway, so I got my first big girl job selling radio advertising, a company called Salem. So in Nashville, they had The Fish, the Christian radio station, The Fish.
Sure, right.
I don't know if they have a station in Alabama, but
they do WAB. I don't know. It's something.
WABC.
Yeah, I can't remember now. It just eluded me. WDJC. That was it. The one in Birmingham, at least the one I grew up listening to. There's one in Mobile, but Kayla. I don't know. I think there used to be a local one, but it's been a long time. So obviously, I don't listen to radio anymore. So
right. I know it's kind of dying, maybe. Although I still listen to it in the morning because I'm old now and listen to the news. But all that to say, I was selling, so trying to reach out to people that wanted to market to a Christian audience through radio. And I on William Vanderbloemen and was like, as a 22-year-old, and was like, hey, would you like to buy my radio advertising? And he was like, no, but would you like a job? So here I am.
Well, would you like a job?
Yeah. It was a little more complicated than that, but
it was a hard sell. Would you like a job? Okay, great. And he lucked out because he ended up with you.
Well, yeah. Oh no, it's been cool. I tell people I've kind of grown up at Vanderbloemen. We've only been at the company for 8.5 years. I've been here for 6.5 of those. Started when I was 23, and literally they had just done a website redesign. But the company didn't have a Twitter account, which I know everybody's like, well, so what? But at the time, Twitter was a big deal. Right. So yeah, just kind of this 23-year-old marketing nerd trying to figure it out. And here we are 6.5 years later. And so it's been fun to learn and grow and just get to serve a lot of churches.
Yeah, that's awesome. So also at 23. 23 is like a pivotal age, I feel like, where you're like really kind of figuring out what you really want to do. Because it's like a year, I guess, or two out of college. And you're like, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? I'm really fortunate I get to work with college students now every day who are all like, I don't know what I want to do. But what's so cool is that because of church communications and because of the space that I got to be in and like got to help create in the last few years, like so many of them are like, oh, I didn't even know that was an option. So many of them are like, I had no idea, like doing Christian marketing, doing church marketing, doing any of those things, and like nonprofit work, ministry work, but in the marketing space was even a thing. So there's like tons and tons of like these marketing majors and students who are just so passionate about the gospel, but they're also passionate about business. And they were like, I don't know where these things are going to intersect. And so it's been really fun and cool to see where God's leading them. So
awesome.
Yeah.
And that's exactly where I was and why I loved the opportunity to work at Vanderbloemen, because I was super passionate about business and believe that God can do a lot of good through business. But my faith and my heart in the church. And so I feel really lucky that I get to be in a place where those two can align every day.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about church communications.
All right.
That's why we're here. So what exactly does church communication mean to you?
Oh man, church communications. So to me, I love the word communications because it can be so broad, but I think it's important that people don't miss the fact that to me, communications is figuring out how to humanize your church's mission and vision.
Oh, I love that.
At least
write it down right now.
Okay.
You must post-it notes. I'm going to take notes while I'm here with Holly. Okay, all right, humanize. Got it.
Yeah, humanize. Well, and I think that's where we are. Like in 2018, we're past the point of organizations being unapproachable, and I think that communications is the ability for us to humanize our church's mission and vision.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. It's like, I think the church, has built such a program, right? Like, I think we have programmed ourselves out. Like, we have programmed ourselves to death, and the death of the church, right? Like, we've programmed it to death, because what is church but a body of believers, but, these people who come together. But then we thought we got to market it, right? So how can we market it besides making a program and moving people through these funnels? And I'm like, that's not exactly what Christ meant. Yeah. And that's really confusing for a lot of people. And we're just, I think we're at this like little like pivotal point in like church history where like, if we don't shift in some ways, we're going to lose so many people, especially in this 21st century like world. Because I loved how Ryan Wakefield he had like compared it to a VCR player, the church VCR player. Like how do you market a VCR player today? Yeah,
when like you know what it is,
right? Like nobody knows what it is, and they all think it's antiquated and that they don't need it. Mm-hmm. And so, but it's like, you do need the church, and not only that, and obviously you need Christ. And so, a lot of people think, and I think we've gotten to this point of like over spirituality, right? Like I can have a relationship with whatever spiritual entity, and I can do it all on my own. I don't need anybody else. But like the church is all about community, and I think people, obviously loneliness is at the highest rate it's ever been in America ever. Isolation, social media has created this isolation, but how can we as a church redeem it? I think that God's called us to redeem things through Christ, and so how can we use it? Sorry, that was like a really random thing that we just went through, but I feel good about it.
Like I need to get my notebook and write that down.
That's it. Well, all right, let's just
okay. I think what you're saying is so important, because if we look at the brands out there, like the corporate secular brands that are growing, they're creating community through their brands.
Right.
So, and I feel like the church has missed out on that through exactly what you were saying. Like we've overprogrammed. So we've created these monstrosities of very well programmed organizations. But we've missed out on the fact that like people are seeking connection with people. And there's brands out there that are, whether they're selling leggings
yeah.
or razors or like, charity water, getting people to help solve the water crisis. Like what makes them so attractive is that they're building community through the brands. And I think there's a huge opportunity. I mean, like what you've done here through the Church Communications Facebook group, we should be the first to be doing that as a church and not the last. So
yeah, and people are like, I don't want to say desperate. I think that's like maybe a harsh word for it, although I've used it before. I think people really, I do. I think they're desperate for community. I think people really want it, whether it is online or we start online to move it offline. I think people really want that community, and so it's interesting. Facebook groups have taken this weird shift. There's been a lot of interesting articles out recently just about Facebook groups being used for therapy. And I shared that recently. And that's interesting that it's being offered as a free form of therapy because there's these groups for specific diseases and that kind of stuff, support groups and whatnot. And so I don't know. It's just really interesting that we can have this kind of relationship without having to, I don't know. It's just a different medium, without having like meet face to face. We can have this relationship. I don't know. Holly, have we ever met in person?
No, we have never met in person.
I don't think so. Yeah, but we've hung out a lot via Skype and stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
Right. And I still feel like Holly's my friend. So, like I don't, so I feel like, people, we just have to get past the point of people can't see or join a community just because it's in a specific place.
Absolutely.
So I know it's interesting. I think the world's interesting. So tell me, why is church meeting? I think we already, I'm going to skip. So, so there are a ton of different ways we can communicate to our local body of believers as well as our community and beyond. So how do we get started if we want to do that? You got any tips?
Yes. So I think it's actually related to what you were just saying. So I think we can't effectively communicate with anyone, but mostly our community, if we don't know who they are. So I think a lot of times we're like, and that sounds so elementary, like, duh, you have to know who they are,
Right.
But like, do you really know who they are? So, for example, like, what's the average income in your community? What's the average, what TV shows are they watching at night? What sports are their kids involved in? Do you have primarily, younger families or older people? What's the divorce rate in your area? Like, do you really know your community and the pain points that they're facing on a daily basis? And not just making assumptions and building your church off of that. I think sometimes, especially with church planning, it's like, oh, I want to move to this city because it's cool and plant a church. It's so crucial that we have to really understand who we're actually trying to reach. And so for me, like I call that a persona. Some people call that an avatar. Some people call it a target audience. But I'm not even talking about, like, to me, target audience is too broad.
Yeah, it is very broad. A persona is like, I'm giving this person a name. Sure, her name is Susie and she's 28 and she loves anime. Or, so, and how do we reach Susie,
Exactly. So a great example of this is we have a client that's in Baltimore, and they realized that their service times, like their attendance to their service times on Sunday morning, were declining. But like nothing else was declining. Like giving was still up, but it was just like, why aren't people coming to church anymore? And what they realized was they needed to change their service times based around the local baseball schedule. So I'm so bad at sports. Like I shouldn't even started telling this analogy because now I'm like, in Baltimore. Is it the Ravens or is that the football team? I don't know. Okay, whatever. If somebody's from Baltimore, tell us.
Tell us about sports.
The point is, and actually we even see that at our church here. I help with the kids on Sunday morning. And like, I know when a Texans game starts at noon or earlier because there aren't as many kids in the thing. So I think that's a great example of like, is your church responding to what's happening in your community, or are you just doing the same thing the same way because you've always had your service at 9 a.m. and you're not responding to the actual needs and interests of the community? So I think before you can communicate with them, you really need to know them intimately on a deeper level, and understand their heartbeat and what they're interested in and what their questions about God and faith are and what their needs are as families.
Yeah, I think that's probably more important than like catching on to some things. But talking about catching on to some things, what are some trends that you're seeing that offer maybe the most value for churches right now?
Yeah, so we have recently did a survey to online pastors around the country, and this was fascinating because what we're finding is, first of all, the church is still really hesitant to this concept of an online pastor or online church in general.
Oh yeah, they hate it.
Yeah, and so it's interesting. Yeah, it's kind of like what we were talking about. Like, we've got to get over the fact that community can happen outside of face-to-face. Like, community is happening over text message. Community is happening in Facebook groups. Community is happening through online streaming. It can happen anywhere now because we have these amazing tools at our fingertips.
Right.
So online, what we found is that online pastors, they feel extremely under-resourced, and then they're always having to prove their jobs, like prove the value of their jobs to the senior leadership at the church. And what's unfortunate about that, though, is in our data, and we're going to release an ebook on this in the next few months. So be looking out for this, because it's really interesting. Because what the data says is, for the churches who have been doing online ministry, like streaming their online services, their giving has increased. Like, they've seen a direct correlation to giving and attendance. So I think what's happened is that the older generations who aren't as familiar with technology, or maybe younger people who are scared of technology, they're saying, okay, that's scary, because if we start streaming our services,
that's what people think typically, right? Like, people won't come to the door if we offer it online because they can just watch it from home.
But it's not. It's actually the opposite. So the data is telling us that they've seen an increase in attendance because they have done basically outreach and awareness through their online ministries. So people who might not have known about their church before, because somebody shared the online sermon on Facebook, now their neighbor knows about the church and they came and attended face to face. And so it's basically this concept of, you and I know Jay Cranda over at Saddleback, who's the online pastor there.
Yeah, and he's the best.
He is. He's amazing, because what he's done is he's created this concept of from online to offline. So it's not about keeping people online. We want people to end up in churches.
Right.
And it's a huge opportunity for people to use.
Even if they're not at your church, even if they're halfway across the country, having an online space where people can meet just helps take down a barrier for them upon entry. Because having a physical space sometimes is so overwhelming for a lot of people. It is easier sometimes to do it online. I mean, that's what DJ Soto, who's doing the virtual church and the virtual church space, that's what he's all about. I think people think, oh, well, he's just trying to replace the church or whatever. And I'm like, no, first off, he is the church. Like, we are the church, where bodies of believers are gathered there as church. But he really is just trying to get people who aren't going to church anyway, which is who we're supposed to be after, right? To even just consider church in a space that's comfortable for them, which might be virtual reality. And that is scary, though, for so many people who aren't used to that idea or that concept. But I grew up online, I think I've told or shared with you about my Harry Potter story, about how I started this Harry Potter community, or was a part of it from when I was like 9 to like 14. And it felt very like the community to me was very real. I'm still friends with a lot of these people who I was friends with, just as much so as I was with people in my class who I haven't talked to in years. I still talk to these people. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I don't think the relationship is any different or less than just because it was virtual.
Yeah.
It's just that we haven't seen it before. There haven't been studies done on it yet. There are so many things for social media, and like, online relationships are going to drastically change how we interact as people, as human beings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's exciting. I mean, I don't know about you, Katie, but I remember, so AOL Instant Messenger, right?
Yeah.
Well, what was your screen name?
Oh my gosh. My first screen name was probably like Cheese Curl.
Why was it Girl?
So in 7th grade, I was in band, and that was my nickname in band. And that was because I love cheese, not cheese curls though, specifically. I don't really know what that was from. I think like the band director just thought it was funny. I just really love cheese, and that was like a thing. I think and the cheese thing was really just because I love making people laugh, and I love making them like for no reason at all. Like I just like being funny and lighthearted, and that was like the easiest thing to do, was be like, in the middle of like a very serious meeting, like, all right, let's go get some cheese. And I don't know, just really stupid stuff. So I had a lot of those things. I would always say like, I gotta go party on a Tuesday. I don't know, I had like a lot of weird sayings that I said in high school just because people thought they were funny. So that was my screen name. What was yours?
Mine was Spry Girl 1. That was mine. Okay.
Why Spry?
So there was a cartoon called Speed Racer.
Okay, and I think I know what you're talking about now.
Yeah, and so my dad, fun fact, my dad was actually a radio DJ when I was a kid in Nashville. And so his like air name was Spridle. So then when AOL Instant Messenger came out, my brother was Spridle Jr. and I was Spry Girl 1. So
okay, gotcha. So your dad made that up for you to choose.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then later on, when I got to high school, after I got out of junior high and whatever, I got my next screen name was KT. The letters KT is all red.
Oh,
really clever, right? Katie is all red.
That's a really good one.
Thank you.
Yes, so cool. It's very witty. But I brought up AOL Messenger because I think, like, I don't know about you, but I remember like we would be in school all day in middle school and high school, and then we would come home, and what would we do? We would get on AOL Instant Messenger.
Right, and just talk for hours.
For hours. Like two same friends that I saw people. And so it didn't mean that like honestly, I think it brought us closer.
Yeah, for sure.
And then it didn't mean that we never like hung out or, didn't see each other face to face, but it allowed us to have connection points when we couldn't see each other face to face because we couldn't drive yet or whatever. And so I think like it makes more sense to us because text
our generation was doing that already, that was that was a big part, I think, of our upbringing almost, like even if it was very unintentional, it ended up being a very intentional part of how we were raised to think this was normal, like communicating via text rather than spoken word, or even, it was so funny. I can remember having harder conversations, more difficult conversations with my friends through AIM or chat, and even in college through text than I ever did face to face.
Yeah.
And that was because people were more open and more honest and more like they could think through their thoughts a little bit better and like calculate how they were going to say something. And I mean, sometimes I think I'm better at texting and giving advice than I am at like speaking, because I get a chance to like really think about it. And like the way I say things through text is a little more eloquent than how they'll come out of my mouth. Yeah. And some of the best things I've, thought of were things that I've texted, like I have a friend who, we talk about dating a lot or whatever. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I remember telling her, and it has become a mantra between the two of us, is nothing until it's something. Mm-hmm. And so, and he will make it something, like you don't have to worry about it, like being pursued or whatever. So that's usually what we talk about. It's nothing until it's something. And like, we just like can text that to each other. Like, like you might think it's going somewhere, but it's probably not until you gotta, get your H's in a row, your head, your heart, and your hands. And so.
Okay, I'm gonna write that one down. Here we go. Your H's.
H's. I should do a relationship podcast where I just talk about my relationship.
You totally should. The 3 H's: head, heart, and hand. That's good. I like it.
Yeah. I gotta get your H's in a row. So
But yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity for churches to leverage. And I'm not just talking about like, okay, yeah, let's stream it to Facebook, or like, oh yeah, let's, post it on social media. Like, it needs to be resourced. Because what I don't want people to do is leave this conversation. And I know like the people who are watching this right now, we're all church communicators and like we're all overloaded and have way too much to do. So I think we all are going to be like, you're preaching to the choir, Holly. But what I would like to see is like a senior leader, hear this and be like, oh yeah, we can just have our worship. Like, he's young and uses social media. Like, he can do our online ministry, or we'll just stick this on top of the youth pastor's job. Like,
it's really got to be somebody who cares about it and loves it and wants to build community on it, and I think that's like where God's called me to, so that's different for me. And there are other people like Jay Cranda. There are people out there who God has called them to do this online ministry. Absolutely. You just have to find them. And they're little nerds that were doing this when they were a child too, like, it's not like, we're like a 1 in a million resource. I think they're overabundant. You just have to enable them and tell them this is okay. That God's called you to this. That was something I never thought, Jesus technology. I wasn't sure how these things were going to fit. So yeah, I think that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome.
So talking about that, so what are some cutting edge things that you're really excited about in communications?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's kind of just where the online, like, I'm excited about what DJ's doing with virtual. I'm not a virtual reality person. I actually
don't have one. I've thought about buying one so I could join DJ because I think that would be fun. But like, I don't have one.
Yeah, I don't either. But I did get to like experience, I got to catch up with them at the Push Pay conference back in February, and like got to put it on and kind of see it. And it's just really cool. And so I'm excited for people to use technology in their context to reach people for the gospel. So whether that is VR, whether that's people who are awesome at creating Facebook groups like you, like community through Facebook groups. We're living in this incredible time. I mean, William Vanderbloemen, my boss, always says that like every kingdom breakthrough has come on the heels of a communications breakthrough. So think about like,
right?
The roads were built, like the Roman road, right? Like roads were built and Paul got to go and share the gospel with everybody. Like then we had the printing press and the Bible got distributed. Well, now like the Bible app is the number one, most downloaded app. And like, it's incredible times that we're living in, and anybody can use technology for the gospel. But here's the thing, Katie, I think we have to do it with excellence, because if we don't do it with excellence, we won't be taken seriously, and we will degrade the beautiful gospel that we have.
Thank you. Preach. I think, it's just so messy. I feel like we've gotten so messy. Like, let's just put up a website and we'll do it on GoDaddy and call it a day. It's just so messy. And I'm like, I'd rather you not have a website at all if you can't do it well.
Yes. And I think the misconception is you have to have a lot of money to do things well.
Right. And I don't think that's true. No, I think you can put up a website. You can still put up a website on GoDaddy and build it yourself. And I think you can look well. It's so funny. So I actually will talk about this. So there's First Baptist Mobile. All right. So they are a small congregation at most. I think they had 50 on the Sunday I visited them, and their website's not responsive. No. It's not mobile friendly technically, but the website has excellent information on it. It really does tell you exactly who they are and what you can expect. Of course, I knew a little bit of what I could expect because their website wasn't responsive. But at the same time, like, I really do, I respect that the information was there and it was laid out in a way that I could really understand it. And there weren't thousands of pages of information. Yeah. It was very clear of like, here's what's going on during the week and you can join us or not. Here you go. Yeah. So I respect that too. I don't think you have to go over the top. Just do it where it is explained. Clarity, I think, is probably also a thing, like excellence, but also clarity.
Absolutely. And something that I am so guilty of is making things overly complicated. Oh my gosh. It's, as long as we can simplify and provide clarity, the better. Keep things simple. We're all overloaded with noisy information. So Yeah.
So hey. Jay Crandall popped up, so we just wanted to say hi to Jay.
Jay, you need to go back and watch. We just talked about you for like 5 minutes.
We talked about you for a long time, Jay, so you can go back and watch that later.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what, I'm going to ask you, what do you think 3 tips are that you'd give to somebody working in church communications right now?
So the first thing is you gotta be clear on your church mission, vision, and values. And I know that can be really hard if you feel like you're like, well, yeah, Holly, like I believe that, but my senior leadership is just, they will not give me clear answers. So that leads to my second point. So first is we got to make sure that our churches are clear on mission, vision, and values, and that we are building our church communications out of the mission, vision, and values. Secondly, we as communicators have got to learn, and I'm speaking to myself here, how to lead up. This is so hard, but we have to be the ones to champion and lead our leaders towards being clear on mission, vision, and values. Because ultimately, it's our responsibility to try to gain clarity in our organization so we can reach more people for the gospel. And if you feel like you're in this, you're stuck, where you're like, yes, like I want our mission to be clear, but our senior pastor brings all of these like different sermon ideas that don't have anything to do with our mission. And so try really hard to work on leading up, asking questions, guiding them to realization, to how you can improve. And then the third thing I would say, it kind of goes back to my, like, we got to step it up with excellence in the church. And that's like, even at Vanderbloemen, like you go to our website right now, literally it has not been updated. Like the design has not been updated in 4 years, which is like completely unacceptable. It's horrible. So yeah, we're currently working on a redesign or like updating it. But yeah, like I think it's so hard to, because things are moving so fast. And so it takes intentionality and work. It's easy to be lazy and be like, oh yeah, I'm just so busy. I don't have time to update the website, or I don't have time to make this 100% good enough. But I think if we can slow down and choose the most important things and try to be excellent in them, I think our communications will be a whole lot more effective. Sure. 4 things, 3 things?
I don't know. 3 things was good.
Okay.
Cool. If you do 4, then great. Just keep going. Just keep blessing us with the wisdom here. All right. So we do have a question from the group.
Okay.
That was posted last week. And the question was, what tools are you guys using to stay organized? He said he's been using a New Year wall calendar, which I actually have one over here. I love it. I love a good New Year wall calendar because it gives you the full year. We actually have a discount code. I can drop that in the comments too.
Oh, nice.
And it's great, but he said he wants to move to a planner so he can stay more goal oriented. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes. So I love productivity questions. So first of all, and again, I'm speaking to myself, I'm so convicted of it.
Which is why I picked it.
You what?
I said I thought you would like a productivity question. That's why I asked.
I love you. Well, first of all, so have you ever seen Parks and Rec, the show?
Yes, but I haven't watched all of it, so okay. I'll be honest.
So I watch that show, and Leslie Knope is like my animal. Yeah, it's embarrassing. Like, I'm like, how do they know me, and how did they write a character based on me? It's really embarrassing. And then when I dyed my hair blonde earlier this year, I was like, oh no, I didn't even think about it. Now I look
Leslie Knope.
Like, I literally have this on my desk. What would Leslie Knope do?
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah. Anywho, I say that because you know how she had, like in the show, for every project or initiative that she's working on, she makes a binder, like a huge binder for every. So my version of those binders is Google Drive folders. So I'm like, meticulous. Yes. I think Google Drive is like our blessing. Yeah. God's blessing to the world in 2018. So yeah. So what we've done, it's not perfect, but the way that our team, so if you're a one person, this might not apply, but if you do have even contractors or volunteers that you're working with, you might consider upgrading. If you're using the Google G Suite, check out team drives. So we have, like, within our you know, we have like an overarching company drive, which is like things that anybody on our team might need to access, like HR manual or staff photos or resource documents, stuff like that. And then each team has our own drive. And so what's great about this is as people come and go, or as volunteers in a church come and go, the team drive stays the same. It's not dependent on that one person's individual drive. Because that can be if you're like making somebody who's a volunteer makes a drive and then they leave the church or something and then they leave with all that information. So team drives have been awesome for us here at Vanderbloemen to help us stay really organized. And then as far as like goal setting and project planning, we've been using Asana, ASANA. Yeah. So
we use here at the university too.
Yeah. So I really like it. I will say though, I am notorious. Like if my team could hear me say this right now, they would be like, yes, this is so true. I'm like a project management ADD person. Like I'm like, ooh, a new one, let's try it. And then I end up not using any of them. So I think the most important thing is like,
stick with it.
Yes. So even if it's a written down planner, which I don't love that because I think for streamlining and scaling your teams, I think it needs to be online, because if something were to happen to you, if you were to get sick and have to, you know, be in the hospital for 2 weeks, or maybe you decide that you're done with your job and you want to, you know, whatever happens, if it's in your planner that's written on a piece of paper, that puts your team in jeopardy of losing momentum. Right. So anyway, so I'd say Google Drive, and then we're using Asana as a team. And then we kind of also use sometimes, because Asana, I think the thing that Asana lacks is a really good list tool. So we kind of use Wunderlist for cross-team list building. Those are great for like one-on-ones rather than having to wait for the meeting to see what everybody's going to bring. If you have like a collaborative meeting, everybody can pop all the stuff they want to talk about in there, and you can kind of, you know, use that. But anyway, I love project management. I'm a super nerd, so I hope that helped, and I could talk about it for hours.
Yeah, I know, me too. Maybe we should just have another podcast where we just talk about productivity.
Hey, also, hold on, one more thing.
Okay, one more thing.
Okay, Chrome extensions. So I have like literally 3,000
of them. I know, me too.
So y'all, stop using Safari. It sucks. Use Chrome. And because the Chrome extensions are great. And then use Gmail.
What's your favorite Chrome extension?
Ooh, okay, let's see. So I feel like one that I use probably the most is the color dropper. What is it called? So basically it helps.
The colors?
Yeah, eyedropper. It's called eyedropper.
Okay, I'm going to give you another tool for color picking. Okay. But it doesn't live in Chrome.
What is it? Cooler?
So it's a Mac menu bar app, and it's called SIP. SIP. It is $10, and it's the best $10 I've ever spent, because you can literally pick colors from anything, not just in your browser.
Oh my gosh, I need that. Thank you.
I know, right? It changed my life forever, and you can make like little palettes in it and junk. I don't know, color history and whatnot.
They have an iPhone app, it looks like.
Do they? I don't even know. But I love their $10 thing that I bought here. It was free. It used to be free. And then all of a sudden when I downloaded it again on this new computer that I got at work, they were like, you have to pay $10. I was like, I don't even care. It's worth the $10. I'm going to pay for it right now. So there aren't many things that I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy this. But I was like, all right, I use this literally every day. There isn't a time where I don't need to choose a color for some dumb reason. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
That's awesome. And then if for church communicators or communicators in general or marketers that are doing a lot of content, which is what I do, the Grammarly. So Grammarly has
Grammarly's great.
It's awesome. Our team uses it. It has saved us a ton.
It fixes your grammar.
Yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know what it does.
Yeah. So that one's, and they just released a beta for Google Docs, which is huge.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Because we were having to use a different one inside of Google Docs. And so that's
so much from you already. And then, okay, my other one, I'm going to go ahead and give you another one. I like the Facebook Like Inviter.
Oh, Katie, I'm learning so much from you.
Oh, no, it's terrible. Okay, so there is, if you go into It's like Facebook like inviter. I don't know. That's what it's called. But it's like fblikeinviter.com. And it literally looks like the most sketchy thing you've ever seen. It's a paid one. There is a free one that will do it for free on one page.
Katie, this looks so sketchy. Like, I wish everyone could see this right now.
Likeinviter.com. It is so sketchy looking, and I don't even care. It is worth the money to pay for. It works so well, and it hooks up to your Google Chrome and is a pay thing. And it will so every time somebody likes a post, you can invite them to like your page. Well, this will do it for you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you don't have to sit there and click each one, and it will like methodically do it, and it'll even section out time between each like, because if you do it too quickly, Facebook times you out.
Okay.
It puts you into Facebook purgatory. So you don't want that. So this thing will actually like methodically do it in a way where Facebook won't time you out. And anyway, you're gonna like your whole entire like brain and your church page will explode after you run it on there.
Well, and you can purchase this with Bitcoin, so they're legit.
So it has to be legit. Yeah, it's great. There's a free version though too. So if you like go into the thing, you can like Facebook post likes or something. Just Google something like that, Facebook post likes or something. That's how I found it. I was like, surely somebody has made something that will click this button for me.
Yes. Yes.
Right. I was so tired of doing it all the time. And I thought I know there are apps that'll invite like your entire friend list to join a group. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, surely, or like invite people to an event or something like that. I was like, surely there's one that will just like click this thing. And anyway, so it'll like it won't like, it'll share. And also it'll thank people for their reviews.
That's fantastic.
And it will like the shared post. So if somebody shares a post from your group or from your page, somebody shares a post from your page, it will also like that shared post over on their profile or whatever.
That is awesome.
So it does so many good things. So it's totally worth like, I don't know, I think it's like $60 or $50 now. But it was like $49 when I bought it, but it was totally worth it. And it'll do multiple pages. So once it runs through one page, it'll go on to the next if you put a list of pages for it to work through. So
you're the best. That is
here to time and energy.
That is fantastic.
Okay, so I think we've accomplished and changed the world.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. In 27 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think that's all the world can handle now. Although we do still have 15 viewers, so I don't know,
Javier likes Grammarly, so that's awesome.
Yes. We didn't get some questions. I mean, do you want to maybe answer this one question? Okay, let's answer one question here. It says, how can you be effective in church communications when your senior pastor doesn't communicate in a timely manner?
Monica, this is so hard. I feel your pain. So I think that's part of like what I was saying about leading up. So if there's any way that you can help build systems and processes to help. So like maybe the first question is ask why. So like, why is our senior pastor not communicating in a timely manner? It's probably not because he wants to. Like he's probably not like, I know today I'm not going to communicate in an effective manner or timely manner. So maybe if you can kind of uncover some of the whys, is it because he is, it's the last thing on his priority list? Is it because he gets writer's block and maybe those ideas don't come to him at the times where you feel like you need them? So I would start there by asking why, and then ask yourself like, okay, how can we build systems and processes to support him in helping information that we need? And that could look different. It's going to look different in everybody's context. For me, sometimes that's giving, I work obviously with William Vanderbloemen a ton on his content. So books he's writing or articles that he's writing. And so sometimes I'll give him a deadline that's before the actual deadline. So that I have
a lot more than you think. We're like, all right, these people aren't going to do anything. I got to like halfway do this.
Well, it's because he's so busy and he's on the road and he's meeting with clients. And so for me, it's like, okay, or maybe, when maybe there's
they're so busy. They're thinking about hospital visits and other things and preparing their sermon. And they're not thinking necessarily about how can I better plan for my sermon series this next year or Christmas or Easter, And so I think that's part of our job as communicators is to help them with that, help take some of the crap out of the ministry. And I think coming up with a system or a process, like Holly said, of, making deadlines and coming up with just something, I don't know, beforehand is the best way to do it. And also, like, start researching leading up. Like, how can you do it? How can you do it well without coming off as a jerk? Yeah, coming off as a busybody.
I will say, Clay Scroggins, I recommend this book all the time. I've actually not read the whole thing, but I've heard him speak, and it's so good. It's called How to Lead When You're Not in Charge. So he's the lead pastor of the North Point campus, one of the North Point churches in Alpharetta, Georgia. So he, works with Andy Stanley. So obviously Andy Stanley's in charge, but he is leading one of the churches. And so he wrote this book called How to Lead When You're Not in Charge. And so that is, I think, when we talk about leading up, that might be a really helpful resource.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That sounds great. I think I'll get that too.
Yeah, I need to read it.
All right. Well,
Jorge,
answer that question.
Jorge was Super Chiller 14. It was awesome. And it was auto-generated.
His first screen name was Super Chiller 14. That is fantastic.
And then Isaiah Boomerang. I love Boomerang. I have it on my I have Boomerang on my Gmail. So Boomerang is basically where you can tell your email to like bring an email back to you if they don't respond. But in the new Gmail, in the new Chrome Gmail interface, they have the snooze capability, which I love, where you can say like, hey, bring this back to my inbox on Friday.
You can also schedule emails in it, and that's fantastic.
So good. Boomerang is
So Boomerang, you can also get it on Outlook. So if you're using Outlook, you can also do it that way. It works with Office 365 now too. So
that's cool. I haven't used. Are you on Office your school job now?
Yeah, we've always been. Brentwood was on Office 365 too. So I've always been stuck here in the Exchange Office world. But I feel fine about it. Honestly, I use Google Drive for pretty much everything typing related because I just don't like opening Word. It just feels like a chore to me for some odd reason. Don't know why, because it's just a click. But I use Google Drive pretty much for everything. And actually our agency is operating out of Google Drive. So the students are on Google Drive, or on Google. It's only the professors and faculty that are on Office 365. So I got them to open my old student account for Google. And I was like, all right, can I have this? Just because we have unlimited storage space.
Yeah.
Because it's an education account and they give to education for free, which is great. Google does. So all of our student accounts for free. So, and we have all this free space. I was like, why don't we just use this rather than have to reinvent the wheel or figure out Dropbox and buy it? And I was like, that just seems complicated. Let's just use this and y'all can learn how to use it. Because a lot of them aren't. That's what's crazy is that we give our students this free resource and yet most of them, the majority of them are not using it. But
oh my goodness. No, Gmail, Google Suite is the best.
It's so good. So good. All right. So thank you for hanging out with us today. I really do appreciate it. You're the best.
Thanks for having me, Katie. I love what you guys are doing with the Church Communications Facebook group. Man, it's such a gift to all of us. And I hope that for all of you watching, just be encouraged. What you're doing is really important and it really matters. So keep up the good work.
For sure. And if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. You can find us on churchcommunications.com. Find us, obviously, we're on this podcast. You can find us on iTunes and other places that you get podcasts. You can find us on our Facebook page. Find us on Twitter. You can find us on Instagram. However you want to find Church Communications, you can find us. So thanks for hanging out, and we will talk to you again later.